Today on this episode of The Brain Surgeon's Take, we will be discussing the art of cold plunging with founder of Miami Ice Club and Wim Hof Method instructor, Donato Helbling. Learn about the science behind cold plunging and techniques to maximize its benefits. Much more on this podcast episode. Welcome back, everyone. Here's my take on Donato Helbling. He's clearly a leader and pioneer in the field of wellness, particularly in cold water immersion. Not only is he the founder of the Miami Ice Club, a unique organization dedicated to teaching participants the benefit of cold exposure, but he's also a public speaker and recognized instructor of the famous Wim Hof Method. My talk with Donato really hit home, as I myself am a disciple of cold plunging. I do it religiously, 39 degrees, 5 minutes a day, 4 days a week. We discussed how difficult cold plunging is, but that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Everyone knows the physical benefits, but what really resonates with me, and especially Donato, are the mental fortitude benefits of cold plunging, and you'll hear all about that. I once heard a quote that said, if you can discipline yourself to get into ice cold water every morning, you can discipline yourself to do anything you want in life, and I firmly believe in that statement. During the interview, Donato gets into the physiology of cold plunging, the techniques he teaches his clients, and gives advice to beginners in the field. In my opinion, life is about overcoming challenges, day in and day out. In my opinion, cold plunging is the single best way to build resistance, resilience, grit, and reduce stress. Question is, will you take the plunge? Listen up as we discuss the art of cold plunging. Check it out. Hey, Donato, what's going on, buddy?
How are you doing, doctor? Good to see you.
Dude, super pumped to talk to you today, man. Thanks for making time.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
So I just gave our listeners a little background on how you got to where you are, and just give us also a little bit of insight. How did you first get interested in cold exposure?
I mean, I was a lifelong martial artist in yogi. I did a lot of teaching and studying of those two areas through Budokan University, which is the institution that I spent most of my career, my wellness career, doing that, because I also have a engineering career at the same time. And I hit a plateau in my personal practice, and I was looking for something that was going to show me a part of myself that I had not looked into yet. And people kept talking to me about the Wim Hof method frequently. You know, somebody would be like, "Hey, you're into all these crazy things. Have you seen this other crazy guy, Wim Hof? You should do what he does." And I'm like, "Have you ever tried it?" And they were like, "No, but I've seen the documentary, and I think you're crazy, so you should do it." So it kept starting to happen more often, until eventually there was an opportunity to go to Poland with a friend of mine to train with Wim Hof, and we were going to go as kind of like a friend's trip to go and challenge ourselves and do something different. And I had a death in my family in Argentina, so I had to fly over, and I couldn't go. But my friend went, and when he came back, he said, "Look, man, the method is cool, Wim is cool, the adventure is cool, but knowing you and how you like to understand the inner workings of things and how you like to explain things when you teach, you're going to love teaching this stuff." And a teacher, one of the Wim Hof Academy teachers, was touring through Florida. So I went and took a workshop with her, and she's a chiropractor. And she was super interesting and really into the technicalities of the system. And I took a workshop with her. And when I got into the cold, man, I did not know. I mean, after competing in martial arts for years, I thought I was a tough guy. When I got into the ice, all my control went. And I realized that for me, I had just met my new teacher. You know, the ice was going to be the lesson that I was going to be working with for the next step in my personal development and in my career as a teacher too. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I decided to start studying deeply the method. I got invited to the teacher's training, or the master's module, what they call, because they were actually looking for professional teachers in the U.S. market. So they kind of put me through they kind of like put me, jump me at the front of the line type of thing. And, in 2000, I started training in 2017. In 2018, I was certified to teach. I opened the Ice Club in 2018, and It's been a cool ride ever since, I guess.
Give us a little background because people might be like, well, so what's the point of jumping in cold water? Tell us exactly what
Okay.
cold water immersion
And you're
does
going
to
to
the
hear
human
all kinds
body.
of different theories around this thing, and there's all kinds of studies about it that you can look into. But what I can tell you that is the biggest, most notable impact that people are going to get, not only the first time they get in, but every single time they get in, is aggressive vasoconstriction, right? So, I mean, and I'm saying aggressive, not to say violent, right? But when you get in an ice bath, your veins, your arteries, and your capillaries, your circulatory system contracts, right? And I like to explain it in this way. Imagine if your elbow only extended, but it never flexed, right? So imagine your veins are doing this. They're expanding all the time. Right now, you can see my veins in my arms because it's warm, because of the pH level of my blood right now. So my veins are dilated, right? I'm in a constant state of vasodilation, especially for us that live here in South Florida. We rarely spend time in a state of
Hmm.
vasoconstriction, and because of that, our circulatory system doesn't get to work in one direction that we are naturally designed to experience that stimulation. Because of the comforts of our society life, we never get that. Anytime that we get cold, we warm ourselves up, we turn up the heat. So for us that chose to live in the tropics, we never get it. And for the ones that choose to not live in the tropics, they never really spend time enough exposed to the cold to get that vasoconstriction. Because of that, our circulatory system is weaker than it's designed to be. And because of that, our heart, kind of like the pump of the whole circulatory system, has to work harder. So I think that the biggest point, a physical point, is the vasoconstriction and then the subsequent benefits of the vasoconstriction repeatedly. You're training a muscle in a way that you're not used to training. And the effect of that is it's an increase in the efficiency of your circulatory system, which gives your heart a break, which, with most people's diets, anything they could do to give their heart a break would be great. So I'm sure that if you're into doing cold plunges, you're probably also into controlling your diet. But it's kind of like addressing this issue of weak or not optimized circulatory systems for people. That to me is the main benefit. And if you are looking for one benefit, that would be the one. And then it's of course the mental. I think that the mental health benefits right now are what people need the most. However, most people who are doing ice baths, in my opinion, are not benefiting as much as they could from the ice bath in terms of mental health because they're doing it in a stressful way. They're getting in and they're like, let's go. I'm going to get in an ice bath. I'm in an ice bath now. Let's go. Let's suck it out. And when you're doing that, you're stressing yourself. And that's not the point. The idea is to learn to control that stimulation, to learn to slow down your nervous system, right? But by first triggering it to go into the sympathetic mode, and then learning to bring it down to the parasympathetic mode. That's the opportunity that the ice gives you. What I like about the Wim Hof method and how we do cold exposure is that we do breath work first. The breath work relaxes you tremendously and it really puts you in a parasympathetic state so that when you get into the ice, you do get that sympathetic spike, let's call it, very loosely talking. You get that real stimulation. Your body does go through that aggressive vasoconstriction, but it takes a lot more to get you out of that calm state of mind. Therefore, your body is able to adjust to the changes faster. Because as long as your body, as long as your brain, really, as long as your brain is still negotiating with you about staying in the ice bath, because your brain's like, get out of the ice bath, get out of the ice bath, get out of the ice bath. This is the coldest thing you've ever done. This is going to kill you. You're going to lose your hands. You're going to lose your arms. You're going to die. This is why your daddy left you. Like things like that. Your brain is going to say whatever it's learned that it can tell you to get you out of what you said you were going to do. So it's going to try to get you out of the ice bath. It takes about 45 seconds to a minute for your brain to realize I'm not going to win this negotiation. I better warm up the body because we're losing body temperature. Now, if you get in calm, your brain gives up quicker. That's the benefit of regular practice, that you get into that state quicker. So the 2 to 3 minutes that you spend in the ice are more, you're actually using that time to create the benefit that you want instead of just you fighting your brain. We are already fighting our brain 24/7 anyways, because we're always trying to do something and our brain is trying to distract us from that. So we're already doing that in the way that we've trained our brains to be nowadays. So why also do that when we're in the ice? So when you couple it with the breath work, that slows down your thinking, that puts you in temporary hyperfrontality and temporal hyperfrontality, that really slows down your identity, slows down your sense of separation, slows down your perception of future and past, slows down your hypercritical thinking. You can get in the ice and not doubt yourself, and then your body just goes into this mode of warming itself up, of strengthening, on really boosting the immune system, which I know we want to talk about, and in actually doing what the body is designed to do when it gets exposed to the cold. If we get exposed to the cold in nature, our brain wouldn't be negotiating with us. It would be like, okay, it's cold, let's warm the body up. But now, because our brain knows there's a sweater in that drawer, right? It's always going to negotiate to try to save energy because it's easier to put on a sweater that takes 3 calories versus staying in the ice bath for 3 minutes that takes 600 calories. Your brain's going to negotiate for the sweater for as long as it can. That's what our brains are designed to do.
This episode is brought to you by Vitamin Water. Vitamin Water contains the optimal blend of electrolytes to fuel your day. So whether it's doing brain surgery or simply relaxing at the beach, Vitamin Water should be your source of hydration. Check out vitaminwater.com for more information and use promo code CROSSOVER for 20% off your first order. That's CROSSOVER for 20% off. So you talk about the breathing method. So you guys certainly recommend, and I've noticed this, right? The first time you go in an ice bath, super shocking. It's always shocking, but it's less shocking if you just take 5, 6, 7 super deep breaths and kind of get in the zone before you get in. So that's a major take home point. The other question people have, and I get it often, how cold does the water have to be in order to have a benefit?
Below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, this is for water. When you're submerging yourself in water, when you submerge yourself in water, the water needs to be below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, in Florida, there's no water at that temperature in a natural state. You cannot get in the ocean. You cannot take a shower. You cannot get in the pool. It's never going to be under 50 degrees. Our water comes out of the aquifer at 76 degrees. Your shower is probably at 76, 72 if you're lucky. This is why we exist. The Miami Ice Club provides a place for people to get into cold water. But you need it to be under 50 to create vasoconstriction. Now, if your water is at 50, it's not going to contract you as quick as if your water is at 28. Water in Florida and water in general can be at 28. People are like, it freezes at 32. That's perfect H2O pure water, which doesn't exist. That's theoretical water, right? Real world coming out of the faucet water can go down to like 29, 30, easy. So you get there, you get in, and now you get that aggressive vasoconstriction. However, that aggressive vasoconstriction is what you're not used to. This is why it's important for us to practice gradual exposure to the cold. So you start, and here's the practical answer. You can start with a Florida cold shower because most people don't want to do it. So you're starting to get already the mental benefit, right? And we also know enough about our brains now that if your brain thinks it's cold, your body will react as if it is cold. Fair? So it may not get that aggressive vasoconstriction, but you're starting to train yourself and your body for that. And okay, once you get used to, you start with a cold shower. You start with a warm shower, and you cool it off, and you finish with a cold shower. Right? So you start maybe 30 seconds, then maybe a minute, and then maybe you work up to 2 minutes, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere and get in a cold plunge. So you go to a spa, you get in a cold plunge. That cold plunge is probably going to be around 45 degrees because under 45 degrees, their insurance goes up. That's why spas don't make it colder than that. Also, the machine is more expensive. So they do that. So you get in a cold plunge in a spa, you get used to that 45. It's great. You're going to feel good. You're going to get the benefits. Maybe you graduate from that. You come to the ice club somewhere where we're pushing the water to be colder than that. Or you get yourself an ice bath or a cold plunge for your house. Those personal use ones, the ones that are not corporate, like commercial grade, they go down lower than that. And ours at the ice club go even lower than that. So you start getting colder and colder. And this is why then we graduate to go into expeditions, swimming in lakes, getting into a glacier, climbing a mountain with no shirts on, right? But the idea is to progressively get to that. Textbook answer: anything below 50. But the colder it is, the more aggressive the contraction is going to be. So technically, the less time you need in it.
So timing wise, what's your answer, right? I've heard everything from only 2 minutes to up to 5 to 11 minutes per week. I've heard all kinds of different things. What do you tell people when they say, how long do I need to do it for?
You need to do it maximum 3 minutes. Maximum 3 minutes.
Maximum?
Maximum 3 minutes.
What
The
happens if you
reason,
do over three?
well, there's no benefits recorded for over 3. This is why people are saying cumulative, a cumulative 11 minutes a week. I'd rather you do 3 times a week, 3 minutes, than one time an hour, right? But more than 3 minutes, what starts happening then is that your body starts cooling off too much, but it already stopped producing the benefit. The vasoconstriction already happened.
Yeah.
So the cardiovascular exercise you already got. The hormonal release already happened. The spike in the sympathetic nervous system engagement or the sympathetic stimulation already happened. So everything already happened. You're just there trying to win at being in an ice bath, I guess, at that point, right? If you want to see if you can do it, that's fine. Do it. It's a challenge. But you're spending calories that you could be using to live your life, right? And also, the biggest issue is when you're in the ice bath, the blood flow to your arms and legs is reduced tremendously. So now you have a reduced blood flow to your arms and legs. How long do you want to be with that? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be there for a long time. But the biggest issue with that is that because, I mean, this is a safety mechanism in our body. We create a blood shunt that closes our biggest arteries to our limbs, not to our head. That would be the biggest artery, right? So it keeps a shorter blood circulatory circuit, let's say, so that it keeps you warm. All the important organs stay warm. That's great. So we're staying safe, and the body can do that for an extended period of time. The problem that you run into is that the blood that gets trapped in the arms and legs is cooling off. It's cooling down, because it's not circulating, right? Not as much, at least. It's not getting warm, but it's getting cold. The blood in the core stays warm, but the blood on the limbs doesn't. So when you get out of the ice bath and those veins open, especially here in Florida, you get out of the ice bath, you go from 30 to 90. Your arteries open hard, fast. And now all that blood is going to flow towards your heart. You got about a minute and a half before all that blood from your hand that was frozen goes to your heart. And cold blood in your heart is not fun to have. You will experience all the symptoms of hypothermia, even though your body temperature might have dropped 1 degree, average overall, right? So you'll get debilitated. What ends up happening is people stay shivering for an hour. If you've stayed in an ice bath too long, you've been shivering way past the ice bath. And that's not fun. And what it does to people, it scares them from getting back into the ice bath. And it gives your brain evidence that you shouldn't be doing that, right? So that's why I say 3 minutes,
I
that's
totally
all
agree.
you need. Beginners, 2 minutes. So people that come to the ice club for the first time, 2 minutes. If they have a good time in the ice bath, then I graduate them to 3 minutes. And then I have people that have been coming to our classes since 2018 regularly, and they do 3 minutes. That's it. Because no, and you're just suffering,
But you were mentioning something that I really focus on. Talk a little bit about the mental fortitude that cold water immersion helps you develop. And I feel like, the reason why I do it, I think one of the major reasons is that grit, that mental fortitude, that challenge, that perseverance. Talk a little bit about what how the ice bath benefits you mentally.
You start your day. Let's say if you begin the day with maybe with breathwork and ice bath, but let's say just ice bath. You're gonna make the decision to face something that you don't want to do. This is very similar to waking up. I I feel like people are also kind of overhyping it. So even though I make a living out of it, and and it would be good for me to continue the hype, I like to give the people the truth. For me, it's like waking up and going to the gym. I don't want to do that either. Fair? Like I want to do it, but my brain doesn't, right? I get up in the morning, my brain wants to eat a donut. It doesn't want to go to the gym or get in an ice bath. But the fact that the first thing you do is tell your brain, no, I hear what you're saying, but we're still going to do this thing, right? The fact that you look at the ice bath, especially for the people that put it together, that prepare it, right? That you put the ice in the thing, you're looking at it and you're facing this battle, right? You're facing this war with yourself and with your weakness and with a person that you don't want to be anymore. And you see in the eyes the person that you can become. So this becomes a very, I think it's a very philosophical moment that can happen there, that you can learn so much about yourself, right? So when you get in it, every part of your body is telling you to get out. But you have to use the only conscious part that you have left to say, I know this is good for me, and I'm going to do it anyways. I don't care how much noise you're making. I don't care how uncomfortable you want to make me believe that we are. I don't care how dangerous you want to convince me that this is. This is what I chose to do, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm going to use these tools that I have, my controlled breath, my controlled focus, and I'm going to practice them. I'm going to get good at them, and we're going to enjoy this if we can, and then we're going to get out, we're going to be fine, and we're going to move on with our day. What that does when you do that regularly is it allows you to take that mindset and to anything that you do. I mean, when you're like, I'm about to do the hardest surgery I've ever done, your brain is not saying, yeah, let's go do that. Your brain's saying, what if something happens? What if it goes bad? Your brain is going to try to sound the alarm as much as it can. But the mental fortitude is the one that makes you then say, I'm going to use all the skills that I've developed through my whole career, and I'm going to help this person. I'm going to do the thing that every part of my brain is saying don't do, but I'm going to do it because I know that it matches my goals, that it matches my values, and then it respects the lifestyle that I want to create. So for me, what I like about the ice bath specifically, after having taught meditation, martial arts, and yoga, is that I can teach you martial arts. You'll learn the same lesson. The problem is that it's going to take you 20 years. You can make an ice bath happen today, and in a week, you get it. You get the message. And it doesn't get that much deeper than that. It's just show up, be uncomfortable, stay with it, and let's go. You know?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a little bit about inflammation and the immune system, and I want to get into that too, because everyone talks about cardiovascular, mental fortitude. No one really talks about inflammation and the immune system. Tell us what the cold water immersion does to your immune system.
But if we have now um, a condition, like an autoimmune condition, or if we have an allergy to something, or we have just a biological reaction that generates a large amount of inflammatory markers into our bloodstream, what the ice bath will do, and this is why when people get good at ice baths, they gotta watch out. Okay, you want that shock when you get in. You want to get in the ice and go. You want that. So if you get good at an ice bath and you lost that, take a break from ice bath and come back so that you can get it, because that thing releases norepinephrine. Right, norepinephrine. We got our adrenalines. People know it as adrenaline. The one that we're really looking for is norepinephrine. Norepinephrine and is the one that is going to create um, um, let's call it a cancellation of your inflammatory response to the response to the inflammatory markers in your bloodstream, right? Because okay, the body for whatever reason decided that it needs to create inflammation, right? The body has many reasons to do that, so we're going to just blanket it as the body decided to create inflammation. Autoimmune disease, you ate the wrong thing, you are injured, whatever, right? There's many reasons why the body sends inflammatory markers to the cells to create this state to reduce mobility, really, right? So, or in other things. But then norepinephrine is what I like to call it the get ready to fight hormone, right? And that has a higher importance, or let's say it's a higher priority neurotransmitter, or a higher priority hormone in your bloodstream. So when your cells are paying attention to that, they're not paying attention to, yeah, let's inflame the body. Who cares about inflaming the body? We got to fight, right? So while you have norepinephrine present, the effect that of the cells paying attention to the norepinephrine creates, and let's say it ignores, oh, I'll leave getting inflamed for later since norepinephrine is here. So for the duration of that effect of that condition, you are not reacting to the inflammatory markers. So it's not that the ice is anti-inflammatory. It's that the ice gives you something else of higher importance for your cells to pay attention to other than the inflammatory markers. Now, if you're doing an ice bath every day, your cells never get a chance to look at the inflammatory markers because they're always looking at the norepinephrine. Does that make sense, doctor? Am I making
Of course, no,
am I talking out of
absolutely.
my butt here, or is this
No, no,
so?
totally, and it's something. I mean, that's one of the big things they talk about when you go in the ice bath, especially if you're someone who does a lot of physical activity. All the soreness goes away, all the aches and pains that you have normally, all that goes away because the inflammation is reduced and your immune system is boosted, which also goes a long way. Definitely, people talk about the fact that you are more resilient when it comes to the common cold or COVID or any type of infection. Your immune system is boosted by the cold plunge. And it really teaches you how to handle stress, which is, I want to go back to that just one time about because you were talking about mental fortitude. And I feel like the world we live in is super stressful. Everyone goes through stress, right? No matter who you are, you're dealing with stress. Talk about how the ice bath and how cold water immersion in general teaches you how to handle stress and handle adversity.
Okay, there's one thing that happens that I think is very therapeutic that we shouldn't ignore. How long do you do your ice bath for?
I do 5 minutes. That's why I was asking, and then you
Okay.
totally punked me out and said it was too long.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you bring your phone with you to the ice bath?
Just to play music.
Okay, but you don't check your messages, your
Hell
emails?
no, hell
Okay,
no.
good.
And
So,
I can't even read or think during those 5 minutes.
excellent. So for 5 minutes, I know you spend a lot of time on your phone. Isn't that true?
Hell yeah.
So for 5 minutes, you don't. I'm telling you that if we take all the other effects out of it, at least for 5 minutes, I got you out of your phone. Right now, I don't care what people say. The biggest stress causer in your life is your phone. Right now, I don't care what your life is like. If you have time to mess
Hell
around and
yeah.
waste your time on your phone, your life is not dangerous enough for you to really be that stressed, other than the stress that this thing is creating for you. Right? So if you can spend, the only reason why I would tell people to stay longer in the ice bath is to stay longer away from their phone.
100%.
Right? So
100%.
that's one
100%.
effect. But really, what it does is that it teaches you to focus. It teaches you to concentrate your energy in what you said you were going to do. You cannot get distracted in an ice bath either, because if you get distracted, you get cold. You notice that? If you start thinking about something else, you start getting cold again. You have to be there, and you have to be.
Yeah, I tell people it's basically forced meditation. Completely forced. You have no choice but to just meditate because you can't your mind can't drift anywhere. It's so painful. Let me just wrap it up here, and I kind of want to have a take home message here. What is your what would you advise our listeners who may be interested in cold water immersion but fearful of the experience? I know I was in that position. I debated for several months, and finally I said, "All right, this looks like it's something I should try." What would you tell our listeners who are on the edge, so to speak?
I would tell you guys that cold water exposure to cold water is the best return on investment in the wellness world by far. I have not found anything else. And after, trust me, I dedicated 20 years of my life to study martial arts, and this is more beneficial for wellness only. If you're looking to create a beneficial effect in your levels of wellness, especially if you're busy and you don't have a lot of time, the best thing you can do is just take cold showers. You're gonna take a shower today at some point, hopefully. So just make it a cold shower and start today. Don't delay it. You're ready. You're ready to do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. You can start with a hot shower if you want, and just at the end turn it to cold and develop that relationship with the cold. Heal from that trauma that the society or your parents created with the cold. The cold is something that we need to experience as much as we need to experience the heat, as much as we need to experience sunlight. And it is such an easy way for you to create hormetic stress. Enough stress, enough beneficial stress in your body to create all kinds of beneficial effects. If you're going to do anything to take care of yourself, especially if you're not doing anything to take care of yourself, a cold shower is so easy to implement into your daily life. As busy as everybody is, this is the one to do. I'm not asking you to go for an hour to the gym. I'm not asking you to drive anywhere. I'm not asking you to buy any equipment. I'm not asking you to come to my class. I'm asking you to just turn off the hot water while you're taking a shower. And I know your brain doesn't want to do it, but you want to take care of yourself. You want to give yourself a chance to be as healthy as you can. And this could be the thing that turns your life around. If you're kind of like, if your wellness is decaying, this is a great way to turn it right around. And it is so easy to implement. You can change your life today. I haven't found any practice that has the power to do that in such an easy to implement, in such an effective way. So if you're thinking about it, I mean, if you watch this and you haven't done it yet, stop watching anything. Stop reading. Stop watching videos. Go to your bathroom, take a cold shower, and then you'll know what we've been talking about for so long.
Yeah, I love hearing that, man. I've gotten into it, and I can say the thing that I like most about
Mm-hmm.
cold plunging is that it's hard. I'll tell everyone straight up, it's just hard, and it's not for everyone. And I love starting out my day, like you said, with a challenge. And there was a quote that I read that said,
Mm.
if you can discipline yourself to get into ice cold water every morning, you can discipline yourself to do anything you want in life. And I totally believe that. I think that cold plunging is a ritual. It strengthens you physically, it strengthens you mentally,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard. And if you can discipline yourself and you can, as they say, flex your discipline muscle every
Mm.
single day by getting in the cold plunge, I think the rest of life gets easy.
It does. It does. What I tell people is like, man, when you go to that first meeting of the day and people are trying to convince you that there's problems, you're like, I already did an ice bath. I don't know what you're talking about. Right?
It's 7 o'clock and you did something already that, 99% of society can't do. So listen, Donato, amazing interview for all our listeners. Miami Ice Club, check it out. Really kind of a pioneer idea that he's had with this cold plunging. And again, Donato, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. I'm going to come visit you there. All
I'll
right.
see you soon. All right, doctor.
All right. I want it to be 25
Bring it.
degrees.
We'll cool it down for it.
25.
25. Let's do it. I'll see you
All
soon,
right, buddy.
doctor.
I'll talk
Thank
to
you
you
so
later,
much for your
man.
good work. Appreciate you. Bye
Absolutely.
bye.
Absolutely.